Last week, a couple of major concepts that we have been discovering and working on integrating. One of the main concepts that she brought down last week was that how we are an element, an aspect of God's constant perfecting, right? If that didn't shock you last week, then you have to keep going over it and over it and over it to realize the important role that we are taking in creation, because we are fulfilling that aspect of God's constant perfecting, that infinite perfecting, which means growing, 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 growing. Okay? Very important element that we are taking part of. God's constant perfecting, because perfection, we said, implies I've reached it, goal. But that in itself implies not infinite. There's no more. But infinite implies keep going and going and going. So this concept of infinite perfecting, where does that manifest in God's creation? And that is through us. Okay? Whether you like it or not, you were volunteered in aspects of God. You, I need you to go down there and be in a constant perfecting mode of constant growth. Okay? And he kicked you out of an airplane without a parachute. Okay? And the other real big idea is, how is this whole thing manifesting? How is this? Remember, she spoke about two things. One was the necessity of perfecting, and then there was the mechanism of perfecting. Okay, the necessity of perfecting, we see the necessity of perfecting because it has to be infinite perfecting, and therefore there is this necessity, not really God's need, His will. And then there is what we call the mechanism of perfecting. The mechanism, how is God doing that, is He has to create the relationship. So to create the relationship, meaning you have to have a dynamic of a relationship, and that dynamic has to be a real partner who actually has complete free choice to choose God as his soulmate, his or her soulmate, and therefore that choice has to be a 100% choice. So therefore God has to create another for there to be multiple choices for you to choose. Okay, it has to be a solid choice. And how does He do that? So here comes the creation of evil, which was the big bomb last week. That her definition of evil is the illusion of separation. The illusion of separation that we are all caught up in. And I need to add another little bit that she didn't add here, that the Sulam adds, that I was saying to my father-in-law after I read some pieces in the Sulam. The Sulam is Rabbi Yehuda Leib Ashlag, who translated the Zohar. First one who translated the Zohar and wrote many works. What is the only difference between us and God? And it really comes down to, there's really only one difference. Okay? Only one small difference. Only. It's an only. An only. And that only is, in other words, what's the only difference between God and us? Because, so to speak, God had to carve out of Himself, so to speak, to create us, because He was in everything. He was including everything. What did He do? So that one thing that the Sulam says, that He used as the axe to separate from Himself, so to speak, because He is everything. He was everything before creation, is two words, ratzon lekabel, which means will to receive. Every single thing of all of matter that, the physicists will boil everything down to the atom or the subatomic particles. Spiritually, we boil all physicality into one thing called will to receive. If you would remove that, there would be nothing no difference between us and the infinite Holy One. Okay? So I said to my father-in-law, right? I said, that's the only difference. But you know what his answer was? That's all the difference. Because it's big. It's bigger than, when you think about it, it includes every single thing in all of creation is made up of will to receive. Now, when you think about it conceptually is God willed a universe. God willed a creation. For what purpose? In order to bestow. He wanted to bestow. He willed a creation because why? God is all about giving. He doesn't need taking. There's no desire to receive by him whatsoever. He was in one simple unity. Yeah.
But it's much more than that. We can't exist without God.
Okay. I'm just working through little steps here. You're already maybe on step 5 or 6. Okay? The idea, of course, you can't exist without God. But yet, we seem to be enjoying this kind of existence here, which really doesn't exist. We're involved in an illusion of separation. What's the mechanism of that illusion of separation? Is called will to receive. If you look at absolute evil, and I've always had this definition of absolute evil, is made up of that and only that will to receive, which means I want this pleasure now. Whatever sick, sadistic pleasure it might be, on the expense of other people, it doesn't matter, because that's what it is. A person who does terrible things to others, it could be, as you know, I don't want to go into examples because they're ghastly examples, they're disturbing examples, some people, how they kill others, or what they do to small children, okay? But the bottom line is, in the definition, they want X pleasure, they feel what they're doing is right. And that's justification. But the bottom line inside, I want this pleasure now. I don't care what I have to do to get it. Who I have to kill, who I have to steal from, whatever it is. It could be an A to Z pleasure. But whatever it is, I want this pleasure now, boiled down to Ratzon Lekabel. Okay? So basically, bottom line, we're all stuck with it. Okay? Because once, again, God made a creation in order to bestow pleasure. Instantly, went up on his mind, something that wants to receive it. He had to create something outside of himself, so to speak, whatever that is. What could that possibly be? I just told you, will to receive, because it has nothing to do with God whatsoever. Farthest thing from God is will to receive. Totally gone. Yet, but according to her definition, it's an illusion, because we cannot be separated from God.
This evil, isn't it also good that's turned inside out?
Yes, we'll get to that. Okay, let's go on. Okay? So I'm just going to continue here a little bit from page 39. I don't think you have it in your sheets. But it says, how does a radiant, consuming, and infinite oneness create evil other than God and make it plausible, when it is really a ridiculous ruse that denies the most basic, obvious truth of reality? Because the only obvious truth of reality is God is all there is. If you leave with nothing other than that thought and have that come with you every single moment of every single day, as you're driving in your car, as you're in the post office, or you're in the shopping center, you use it all the time, God is all there is. And that is the real reality. Yet, here we are. How does he do it? How can anything hide the telltale stamp of its creator and not let on that God is one? This is actually, I'm on the top of page 40, if you can read it in your handouts. This is actually a complicated logistical problem. The mechanism Hashem devised to conceal both himself and the truth of his oneness is amazing indeed, and it is called the mystery of, quote unquote, the shattered vessels. Okay? Vessels will to receive. Okay? So let's go. As explained in chapter 4, before, quote unquote, the beginning recounted in Genesis, this is before Bereshit. There's stuff that went on before Bereshit. It's alluded to in the Torah. We'll get to that. So before the beginning, recounted in Genesis, God's infinite light was everywhere. Creation could not occur, for there was no room for worlds to emerge. Every nook and cranny was filled with his presence. Can someone just close that door? Because there's noise coming in. Thanks. Hashem's first step was to conceal his light from a circumscribed place, creating a spherical void, now free to be filled by something else. This vacated space became the primordial womb for creation's unfolding. Into its hollow depths, Hashem emanated a single ray of light, the unfolding of which is the history of evolution, of creation as we know it. For those of you who have been in previous classes of mine, and of course I reach for the pen and it's not there. Okay, so in any case, maybe it's here. Maybe it's
dry erase.
No, the dry erase.
Yeah.
This could do it. Let's see who wants to place bets if this works. That's right here. We got here. Okay, let's try this. Right, we had. Of course, I picked the one that doesn't. Let's try this one. Yeah. How do you know?
Because they've used and not taken out and thrown away.
Oh,
They keep putting them
So-
that's your job.
I was gonna say, we could throw them all away once you test it. And you know
Right, we should.
That's
so
it.
we don't have to keep.
What I used to do when.
I've got some at home, I'll bring some.
Okay.
But
How
we need-
dare you throw a pen?
We need somebody to like come in.
No, I will know to pick it up and take it out. Otherwise, they'll sit here and someone will put them right back away.
No, I'm gonna take them out.
Okay, thank you.
And throw them in my backpack and all.
Okay, so you'll dispose of them properly.
Recycle.
Okay. So Hashem, so to speak, and don't forget, we understand the idea, the concept in Kabbalah called tzimtzum. Hashem had to constrict himself. He had to make a stage. He had to make a place where he doesn't exist. Okay? Now, apparently, exactly it. Now, that's a huge issue, and it's a whole big problem, and I've given classes on this, and it's a very huge split. Understanding this is a split between factions of Orthodox Jews that bleeds into how they relate to God to this very moment. Okay? Seriously. Okay? How to understand this. Because I won't go into the depths of it. Okay? The idea here is we're going to go according to that. This is all conceptual, of course. Hashem can't really make himself to be nowhere. He's everywhere. It's called a conceptual retraction. Okay? And then, of course, after that, he withdrew what we call a line to the center point. Okay? This kav. It's called a ray. Okay? That's what he says here. Into its hollow depths, Hashem emanated a single ray of light, the unfolding of which is the history and evolution of creation as we know it. These are definitely it's very abstract. First there was a sphere, and then there was a laser beam of light that extended to the middle. What is that laser beam of light? All of these are the creation of dimensions, or the creation of distance. How much can a person be distant or seemingly distant? How much in the illusion can you get caught up in? Okay? So the ray, the idea of the ray really gives us levels. Because if you just have a circle, a sphere, and let's say you'll have a middle point in the middle of the sphere, everything's equidistant from it. Right? Even if you have one circle, everything's really equidistant. There's no real way of measuring from the inside of a sphere. Okay? Unless you have a line. Once you have a line, okay, this is the farthest away. We'll look at outside this ball.
It's multidimensional, it's fluid.
Yes. We'll look outside this ball as the light of the infinite. And of course, he withdrew, he retracted to where there's a certain space, a black hole, where the light of the infinite is hidden, concealed. Okay?
It's there, but
So how much concealed is it? This represents the farthest level of concealment, okay? Inside the center point. And once you have this line, so anything up goes in the line that moves towards out here is a little bit less concealed, less concealed, less concealed, less concealed, less concealed,
Is it really more of an asymptote than an actual thing that you can always approach it, but you never actually cross the threshold?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Get up to it.
That's
We never can
because if you go back up to here, then you zap back into Ein Sof, and then into Ein Sof meaning unlimitedness, and then you took apart the whole concept of creation. We have to remain
Where we are.
with a will to receive. Otherwise, you stop being creation. The essence of creation is will to receive. We need it. We just got it in a certain way, in a raw form, and we get to be co-creators to convert it to being a will to receive, a different kind of will to receive. Okay? A will to receive that's not for the sake of us, but a will to receive for the sake of another. Okay? For the sake of something else. For a bigger cause. Okay? So, that's what the light, the single ray of light, the unfolding of which is the history of evolution of creation as we know it. This transition from infinite light to present reality did not happen smoothly, but rather as a sequence of seemingly false starts. Seemingly false starts. We say that Hashem, here, okay, we say that Hashem really created 7 worlds and destroyed them before this world, okay? Our world is phase 3. Phase 2, completely preceding ours, is called the world of points or circles, for it emerged as 10 spherical concentric channels of flow. Okay? In other words, if we would look at this sphere, inside the sphere would be 10 other little circles.
Just like pipes within pipes.
An onion, dear laddie. An onion.
Yeah.
Okay? I don't know why the Baal Shem Tov never ate onions, okay? But he did not eat onions. I once asked this Rav in Jerusalem, you know, big Rav. I'm like, Rabbi, why didn't the Baal Shem Tov never eat onions? All right? Was it a Kabbalistic thing? And he was like going like this. He was going like this. I was like, maybe it gave him gas.
Or ingestion.
Okay. In any case, okay? But we do have rules about onions.
Which are?
A cut onion over the next night, even if you put it in a hermetically sealed bag, cannot be eaten the next day. Okay? In other words, if you cut a part of an onion, some people have different leniencies in it. If you leave the stem over, you can still use it the next day. But most people, I'll tell you, Hasidim, they need an onion, and you offer them a cut onion, they won't take it. They won't take it. Even though it was cut that day, they won't take it.
Because of this?
Yeah. No, not because of this, but onion, because of the rule of a cut onion. I don't know if the rule of a cut onion is because of this.
What is the rule? I don't think I know this rule.
It gets old fast? I mean,
No, it really is a bacteria magnet.
Saute it.
It's a bacteria magnet. It's also the same thing with garlic.
And the knife you use.
Peeled and cut garlic becomes a bacteria magnet, a massive magnet. As a matter of fact, this lady who crossed the hall in Beitar Illit in Israel, when my son was sick and coughing, she says, cut onions and put it next to the bed. I did that, and Mommy did it helped. The room stunk,
Right.
okay?
That's all the
Because it sucks all the bacteria. It's a bacteria magnet. The Mossad have a technique that this one guy told me. He used to work with the Mossad in Lebanon. That they have a rule how they can kill a person in the battlefield before a gunshot wound would do it. If you stab him, they have a knife. They rub garlic on the knife and let it sit overnight. If they use that knife and stab somebody, he'll die of infection before the wound itself. Far out. Okay, unless they get to him in time, but usually not. Okay. In any case, that's the rule is because the Gemara it brings down in Gemara Nida is because it's called a Ruach Ra. Ruach Ra could be translated several different ways. One is evil spirit, right? And one is just bad wind. Okay, bad air.
Oh, man.
Okay.
Because
Baal Shem Tov, no onions for me. Pass on it.
Wind.
Bad wind. Whatever way you want to gurgitate it. Okay? However you want to slice it.
And yet it's so healthy for us.
You have been taught the rule of onions. Eat them fresh
onions are
or leave them alone.
I have a question.
Okay?
If we put it in tuna fish,
And, no, okay, sorry. Thank you for that clarity, since we're on a halachic aspect. They say if you cut an onion and you mix it with oil or spices and then put it in the fridge for the next day, because you don't need it that day for the next day, that's fine. If you mix it with oil or spices, then you're good. Okay? But just a regular cut onion, even if you put the Glad wrap around it 10 times, no. Yeah.
Many years ago, I was in California at UC San Diego, and there was a visiting rabbi from Tunisia. And I had been, trying to study Rambam. And I say trying because I didn't get it all. But Rambam had an interesting focus on diet and also health. And the emphasis, Rambam, was also reason. And through a translator, I asked this Tunisian rabbi who didn't speak English. I said, other than Torah, give me something here. What's the prohibition of milk and meat? And he shot back and he gave me a one-word answer, and it was cancer. And if you look at the societies that have the highest rates of cancer, breast cancer, and going on down the line, if you look at statistically, societies that have the highest rates of cancer are those that freely combine milk and meat in one meal.
Far out to me. First time I heard that. Okay. Thank God we're Jewish.
And also we
Right?
eat so much meat.
Okay, we're not getting into diets here. Okay, let's go back. Okay, thank you for that. Okay, mixture of milk and meat. And when was that he told you?
1987.
1987, he said cancer. Milk and meat
Wow.
causes
I have a copy
cancer.
of Rambam's.
Okay. Anyways, the Rambam does say Bederech Klal in a general way that we all understand it. I had a master who taught me, Rabbi Meir Abu Chatzera, who was a nephew of Baba Sali, the big Kabbalist in Israel. He was his nephew. He was a doctor, a health doctor. And the Rambam says that most diseases start in the stomach. And if you can nick it at the stomach, so you could basically solve most diseases, he stopped. If people had whatever sores, a sore throat, or whatever it is they were suffering them, the first thing he would administer would be charcoal pills. Because charcoal pills, even though you could buy it in any pharmacy for gas, right? It absorbs any poisons that could be in your gut. It sucks all the poisons out, and then you get rid of it like that. So my wife had like almost a tonsillitis, strep.
Yeah.
He said 5 of these twice a day. Charcoal pills gone.
Yeah.
Okay, because it sucks the gut. Okay. Anyways. Okay, the trend. Okay, where are we? Okay, we have 3 phases of creation. I'm not gonna, just to get this bottom line. You look at it as thoughts and the thought process. Okay, so the idea really is that he called them. Okay, she called it. Looking for the page here. Okay. Sometimes when you want to build something, you first have a thought in mind, right? And then you have to go through the motions in order to get to that original thought. That's how we work. We have a thought in mind, and then we as human beings have to go through steps in order to get to that original thought. You want to build a house. First you have the idea, the concept in your mind of what the house looks like, and then you'll go through the motions, every single thing in all its details, in order that you'll finally, in actuality, be sitting in the house. God basically made this creation. There's 3 phases. There was the first phase, which was the original thought, which was called the bound world. Okay? So the bound world, and then there was what we call the circle world, or the world of the points. Okay? Actually, the risk, really, for us, is called the world of chaos. Okay? It's alluded to in the very first few verses of Genesis. Right? The world was chaos, tohu vavohu. Some people's lives go in phases of tohu vavohu. Some people's days. Some people every 5 minutes is I'm in tohu, I'm in vohu, I'm in chaos. Okay? These are all influences from those original forces in creation before Genesis. Okay? Influences that are still here. By the fact that it was created like this first, right, setting a stage. Okay? All this is about setting the stage for free will. And then, of course, there's our world. We call this world Olam HaTikun, world of rectification. Actually, she called it the linear or rectified world. Okay?
So, I have a question.
Yeah.
Are we saying that in each of these worlds there's a version of us living in those worlds?
Yes, and thought. Absolutely, has to be.
Okay.
We existed from the very beginning of God's. Every single one of us, every single aspect, every single thing in the minutest detail, in the very first thought. As a matter of fact, really, as you'll see Sunday, if you come Sunday, right? We're living in God's thoughts as we sit here. You are living in a dream. It's God's dream.
Yeah.
Okay? Right?
Sure.
Kind of bizarre, isn't it? And when we wake up,
No.
we're going to go, whoa, that was so real. Okay? Okay? You ever had a dream where it was really real, and in the middle of the dream, you're going, wow, this is really real. I wish this was a dream. I had that several times. And I wake up and I'm going, oh, okay. Well, that's this world. Okay? Anyways, just to get here, this dynamic here. Our world is phase 3. Phase 2, immediately preceding ours, is called the world of points or circles. For it emerged as 10 spherical and concentric channels of flow, like an onion. For a variety of reasons, this circle world could not bear the subsequent influx of light, and its 7 lower spheres crumbled under the strain. Okay, so let's say light, the infinite light emanated from out here into this sphere. And the first 3 can take it because they were close to the light of the Ein Sof. Don't forget, this represents close, and this represents the most distant. The most distant. What we call the illusion of distance. Different levels of illusion of distance. So the lower 7 of these circles, picture 10 circles inside of it, the lower 7 of these crumbled, shattered, and broke. Okay? They became a different form. Okay? Chaos. Meant to be. Gotta set a stage. These were the 7 shattered kingdoms mentioned earlier. Instantly, they were replaced by an alternative emanation of 10 sphirot arranged along 3 parallel lines. Okay, that's phase 3. Of course, I wish I had one that worked good. None of them work good.
Rabbi, I
Who
just.
Yo.
just sent this picture?
I just
What?
I
You
got
sent that?
Yeah, that's talking about the.
Oh,
it's on
good.
page
Thanks. Great.
21,
Does
but I
everybody
sent
have
it-
that picture?
She just
I
sent
sent
it
it.
to the group.
Oh, great. We got the
Yeah.
group. I'm so excited. Okay.
I have it.
Don, did you get it?
But
Maybe you want to show him.
maybe
Okay.
I need to go make a copy.
No, it's all good. We're all good. It's an earlier,
I sent it to the group.
if you'll see phase 3,
No, you didn't.
you'll see, here, I'll just draw it. It's not a big deal. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And these 10 are in a 3-column array. Okay? Didn't I just have one that worked? Okay? There we go. 3-column array. Okay?
No, I just sent it.
The circles,
to the group.
But they're also,
we call them the sphirot. They are the 10 sphirot. They are the guiding forces which Hashem relates to us. We could relate to God. We don't need 10 God. God willed 10, we're baby steps. We're so limited here. Okay? We're very coming from a very finite place. And we're evolving into a relationship with infinity. And it's a very hard, you don't just, if a person, just had eye surgery, you don't take him after he healed as a week in the middle of a bright Houston sun and rip the thing off. It's going to hurt him. So we can't be exposed to that infinite light right away. We need baby steps. Okay? So these basically 10 are 10 baby steps. Okay? 10 is a very significant number that we have. These are what we call 10 of God's guiding forces, how we can relate to Him, the bridge. Okay? And it's in an order now, so we can go ahead and begin to grasp how God is relating to us and how He's relating to the world, and it helps us to start to have a relationship. Okay? And of course the light flows in a way, and okay. This new linear array is the rectified world, because the flaws of phase 1 and 2 were repaired, okay? Because there were flaws in number 1 and there were flaws in number 2, okay? Each one had something that it wasn't, Number 1, it was basically like the puppet mode, everything's together, everybody's happy, and it's like, everybody's just a puppet. It's not a real relationship. There's got to be a shattering of a relationship, there's got to be a breaking, and then a severing, and then there could be a relationship, okay? The most dynamic paradigm I always bring down, and God willing, we'll get to it and more later, is the whole paradigm of Adam and Eve and how they were created in the Garden of Eden, okay? It brings down in Kabbalistic doctrine that they were created first back to back, connected back to back. And then there was this tardema. God had to bring a heavy sleep upon Adam in order to sever her from him. And then after she was severed, and then to bring them face to face. Okay? And even that was a 7-phase mode, 7 steps in order to bring them to be a face to face. That is the whole paradigm of all of creation. We started off as a back-to-back relationship. Back-to-back relationship, the way we would look at it, yeah, they're connected. You're so connected, and whatever happens to one is going to happen to the other. Like a father-son, it's like you're always nurturing, you're always sucking. There really is no free choosing there. A son cannot choose to not have him as your father. No such thing. He will always be your father. And the son cannot choose that he's not my son. Always, always will be. But here, when there was a severing, okay, it's Adam and Eve, which is like HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the Jewish people, okay? So therefore, there had to be this severing first, and then there could be this eventual uniting of a face-to-face relationship, okay? Everything is about relationship. Okay, so there were flaws in the beginning, and then eventually fixed. It is the bare bones scaffold of our familiar universe, the 8th kingdom, whose odyssey the Bible recounts. In other words, when you begin Genesis and Bereshit, you're already on kingdom number 8. We're already, right? There's 7 stories that existed before our story, okay? And you were all part of them. When the 7 primordial worlds shattered, the lights that spilled from the broken vessels reabsorbed back up to their root on high. They withdrew from the world and returned to their source. Yet, some of their photons, meaning the light elements, the most energetic of them got absorbed by the vessels. Now, when we say vessels, we're talking about will to receive. Okay? Some will to receives are thick, hard, big, and dynamic and huge. Okay? Some are not so. Different degradations of will to receive. So the most energetic of them got absorbed by the vessel's walls before they shattered. These drops of light got trapped below and didn't recede with the rest of their kind. In other words, when these vessels, let's just look at it like this in this form, shattered, this lower 7, by the way, only these, right? There were elements of light that were in here, 2 different types of light. There was the lighter light and then the more coarse light. So the coarse light kind of remained, actually the coarse light really became the vessels. There were elements of light that went back up to its source, and there were elements of light that got stuck within the coarser fragments of the broken vessels, of the will to receive, okay? So these drops of light got trapped below and didn't recede with the rest of their kind. Now, estranged from their clan, they assume a new identity and destiny and receive a name of their own, and they are called sparks. The shards of the vessels with their sparks fell level after level through the new system of the 10 Sefirot, organized along 3 pillars, like food passing through a digestive tract. At each stage in their descent, the higher and more refined frequencies of light were absorbed by the newly established pattern of Sfirot. At the end of this process, only the lower and denser frequencies remained within the fragments themselves. Those droplets of light, still trapped within the fallen shards of circular Sfirot, are called Gvurot, defined as dark knots of unactualized potential. That's a thing. Unactualized potential. And they yearn to reunite with their roots on high. So we have here at the play, we have the setup, we have the stage set. Through here, like a digestive tract, these elements of light that fell through here, some elements remain up here, and then there's some ones they can't absorb it all, and they go ends up being down here to the most lowest, most distant, most concealed elements, okay, of matter, okay? And so all of them, though, and that's a key word here, unactualized potential. Everything is about that, okay? Everything is about actualizing the potential of things, of elements of concealment. That means concealment in your life. That if it's concealed and you don't see God, that means there is more potential there to actualize. And it's just waiting for you to draw out the holy sparks within that thing. It doesn't have to be a physical thing. It could be anything, okay? Holy sparks are in everything. Everything we use all the time, okay? And life situations have sparks in them. Dark spots in our lives, it seems to be, I don't see God here, He's concealed. We have to actualize the potential that is in them, because you know why? The sparks are really trapped. The sparks are really trapped. The Baal Shem Tov brings down, when we say a blessing on fruit, of course you're elevating the holy sparks, but you're doing a bigger mitzvah also. It's called Pidyon Shvuim. You know what Pidyon Shvuim means? What does Pidyon Shvuim mean? Redeeming the captive. Redeeming the captive.
Can you spell Hebrew Pidyon Shvuim?
Pidyon? It's like a bird, isn't it?
Like,
No, it's not. Pidyon. Oh, Pei Dalid, Yud Vav Nun. Shvuim, a little hard for me. Shin, Beit, Vav, Yud, Mem. Try that. Not guaranteed. I'm not a good speller in English, let alone Hebrew. What?
Shouldn't be an iron in there?
No.
Okay.
No, it's olive. Maybe olive. There could be an olive in there. Sorry.
Okay, fine. Yeah. Thank you.
Unactualized potential. Since there could never be actual discontinuity within the spiritual realms, for that would create a fundamental duality, everything must and does exist as a continuum, as part of an unbroken chain of connection with the source. In other words, every single thing, never think that anything is disconnected from its source. And that's the problem. We have an illusion that it is disconnected. We have illusion that we are disconnected. We have illusion that this thing is disconnected. This is disconnected. It's all an illusion. But there's no way, and the masters knew this, as they would walk the earth in their daily routine, everything is connected to its source. And they would always seek to make that connection to its source with everything all the time. No matter what their experience is, they would always be connecting it to the source. Okay? Therefore, these shattered fragments could not fall below a certain point. They couldn't go too far because, and this is all conceptual, okay? This is not physical in any way, okay? It's all about levels of concealment. How much? So, these shattered fragments could not fall below a certain point, the point of commonality and overlap between their highest and new system's lowest band of radiant lights. They were hanging on by their fingernails, so to speak, at the last possible point of contact. In other words, they never fell too low. They went down, these sparks, but never too low, hanging on by a nail, okay? At the lowest edge of the lowest sphere of Malchut of the new world, okay? So there's elements there that are hanging on. You know, when we look at the letters, we say that the crowns of the letters are those what do we call it? Fingernails.
Ah.
That's the letters that fell, because if you'll notice there's 7 letters that have 3 crowns. Okay? There's 7 letters that have 3 crowns. Okay? Shatnez gates. Those are the letters. Shatnez gates. Okay? But if you see the Torah scroll, those 7 letters have the 3 crowns hanging on by the letters. Okay? Ochel Misaperet have 1. Those letters, the letters of those, only have 1 crown. They didn't fall so low. And then there's the ones that didn't fall at all. Okay? Some letters fell and there's clawing. Those are the claws. Right? So they remain connected with their source, but only indirectly now, via the newly emanated hierarchy of Sfirot. The new world. It's called the new world. How do you like that? To which they clung. Since their higher frequency light had been extracted from them, there was an apparent discontinuity between themselves and their Creator, a breach between their vibratory level and His. As such, it appeared as if their light arose independently. Again, notice how she italicized the word appeared. Appeared as if their light arose independently from within the fragments themselves and not from the higher source. In other words, all of this is to give an appearance of an independent source, of another source. Okay? And this is the origin of evil, defined as the illusion of separation and independence from God. We are built from the debris. We are built from the debris of these shattered vessels, and its wasteland is our reality. Can you believe it? That you were born in a wasteland? The spiritual realm looks at it like that. We are like, nah, Houston's pretty good, right? You got 5 restaurants, 3 what do you call it? The shopping stores, right? We got a Walmart. Come on. No, wasteland. Okay. Our physical plane is the band of interpenetration between the shards of the worlds of circles and the lowest point of the Sfirot of the linear world. Okay? That's an interesting phrase, the way she says that. Band of interpenetration. How would you understand that? Okay?
Of shards of penetration. Interpenetration of shards of what?
The shards of the world of circles and the lowest point of the Sfirot of the linear world. One primary feature of our cosmic niche is that Hashem is well concealed and choice consumes our days. That's the bottom line. It is not at all clear at any given moment which of our options is truly the high road. Oh, Hashem, please. That's why you got to just pray, pray, pray. God, what to do right now? What's the highest thing I could do right now? The goal is to become a master of choice, to see through the illusions conjured by evil, and, like a multiple choice test, choose truth and God consistently, despite temptations to the contrary. It's real. The temptations are real. The distractions are real. So real. You got to choose constantly. The relationship between God and man consummates when a person's authentic and spontaneous desires exactly coincide with Hashem's will. In other words, we become an angel. You have to angelify yourself, all right? I'm angelified, okay? Intimacy then occurs at the most core level of being. Really, in a certain state, you're already at that intimate level right now in the spiritual realm. There is no past, present, and future, okay? The Holy Master Rabbi Nachman says, you have to keep your mind at the world to come all the time. Okay? You want to, and that will help you to overcome all the physical temptations and desires of this world. Keep your mind in the golden mountain and the pearl castle, where the lost princess is, that you are at already. Okay? This is as close as any two can get. Oh, it's happening really right now. Would you believe it? We can only access it on a feeling tone very few moments of the day. Those moments are when we say the Shema and we get to the Echad, the Dalet of Echad. When we get to the dalet of the word echad, you are at the ultimate, closest relationship. There's no more barriers anymore. You are completely free. That is the most unbelievable point right there of ecstasy, of love, where you want to just give to God every single thing and hold nothing back. And you'll finally have access to your soul's ultimate total desire at that moment. Okay? It's a meditation when you say the word echad and the Shema. Okay? That you're actually finally in the ultimate relationship with God at that moment. It is the highest achievement of relationship and the purpose of creation. So not every time do we access it. Really, we can access it all the time, every moment. Really, it is there. Because don't forget, evil is the illusion of separation. The idea really is, in a certain sense, in the spiritual realm, it doesn't exist. In a certain spiritual realm, we're in the greatest, most perfect dynamic relationship with God at this very moment. We just have to live it, okay? And that's the work. You have to work, yeah. You have to work, yeah, free will. You have to work. That's right. What's the work? The work is overcoming the illusion. The work is seeing through it. The work is lifting the veil. The lift is uncovering the dust. So many ways you can explain it, okay? But the idea really is to know, first step, is that it's happening right here now. And right, I am. Thank God that Baruch Hashem, I finally made it to where I am, and I'm not coming with the right word. It hits me every once in a while, the right word. Sincere relationship with God. That's the magic words. I am finally at the absolute sincere relationship with God. To be sincere. And that is where we're all going. And that's really, in a certain sense, in the spiritual realm, we already are. The idea really is to access it. And you must admit to me right now, you put yourself right there now, and you know how great it feels to be there.
You're alive with God.
Alive with God. Having the sincere, intimate, dynamic love relationship. We're all facing it. And you admit, if you would be feeling it right now at 100%, maybe you're feeling it at 99% right now, but if you were at 100%, you know how much in ecstasy and happiness that you would be. We'll stop now.
Before everybody takes off, her